Hi guys, welcome to another episode of IT Issues with Husey. Today we're going to be exploring the concepts of one-to-one computing and BYOD computing and the different effects they can have on a workplace or school if they are employed. To begin with, we're going to take a look at the definitions of each. So one-to-one computing is where each student or employee receives their own device from a school or their employer, and they use this to do their work. On the other hand, bring your own device computing, or BYOD computing, has students or employees bring in their own devices to use on the network, which is pre-configured to allow standard network privileges so that they can do their work. So to begin, we're going to look at server setup costs. Now, if one-to-one computing, we can assume that all hardware is the same configuration for everyone. So the server can be done more cheaply. The school can do it by itself at the cheap cost of $50,000, for example. On the other hand, BYOD computing needs a much stronger server. It needs to be able to handle different configurations of setups, needs to be more fluid, needs to allow outside communication with the server. So that'll be a lot more expensive, and you'll probably need to hire someone in to do that. And then there's the issue of computers. Now, in one-to-one computing, you're probably going to want 400 computers. We're going to use an example of 400 computers at a school and the cost of each system. So here we assume that a school can get a really good deal on these computers at $600 a piece. So each computer here is responsible for 25 in the real world. So if we drag out 16 of these, because 16 should get us 400 computers, we will see that the total cost of just computers comes to $240,000, and that's pretty good really for that amount of computers. So the $50,000 server plus all the computers is $290,000 all up. On the other hand, you only need a few computers in BYOD because most students or employees will be able to use their own device. However, servers and computer hardware are not the only issues we need to look at here. We also need staff. Now, in an environment where there are 400 computers, there's going to be problems. There's definitely going to be problems. So we'll probably need a lot more staff who will be accepting a yearly wage, of course, and this is going to set you back a fair bit of money over the long run. So we're going to look at a 5-year period. Now, for 400 computers, if you can assume that each IT department member can be responsible for 50 computers, then you need a total of 8 employees just to look over hardware. So if we assume they earn the average wage for IT work in Australia, which is $100,000 a year, IT help desk work, over a 5-year period, that's $500,000 each, and for 8, that's $4 million. And you always have to assume that there's always going to be someone, a senior member, who looks after these, oversees their work and their responsibilities. We assume in this system it's just going to be a network specialist because it's not something so fancy that it can't be handled. So if you take a look at this system, you see over 5 years it will set back a school over $5 million. That's $5 million and 40,000. On the other hand, with this system, the server setup, you're probably going to need some high qualified staff. So you could have, because there's only 50 computers, you won't need as many staff. So you could split up that workload among 2 network specialists who can deal with any problem connecting outside computers to the server, and someone even higher qualified who accepts a wage of $200,000 a year, who just oversees all the work in the IT department. So that's $1 million for him, and the network specialist $150,000 a year. So that's $750,000 each over the 5-year period. So you can see in BYOD computing there's far less resources that you have to manage, and with fewer staff there's less chance of any compromises having to be made. It'll be quicker to deal with students and staff On the other hand, one-to-one computing, there is a huge amount of computers, and to help out with the workload you need a higher number of staff, and on a yearly wage that's just going to set you back a lot of money in the long term. All your broken devices have to be managed through the employer or school, so it takes time and you are less productive in the long run, really. Whereas in BYOD, if something happens, it's your responsibility if something happens to your computer. So you're much happier because you know the work you do or don't do is on you, whereas in one-to-one it's sometimes out of your hands. So overall, what we've realized here is that one-to-one computing, it's very complicated. There's a lot of resources to manage, many staff to look after, and finally it's not very good for productivity. On the other hand, BYOD over the long run is actually much cheaper after the initial server setup. You'll find there's far less devices that need to be managed by the school, and this will help in ensuring that all the manpower can go towards sorting out server setup issues, and this will lead to high productivity and student morale in the 400 student school we've just used an example. So overall, in the future, schools and workplaces should look at employing the BYOD, or Bring Your Own Device system of computing. We'll see you next time in IT Issues with USI, where we'll be looking at ActionScript and how bad programming can be the end of your career.